Thursday, the 14th of May 2020. Good evening, televiewers watching us in every part of Cameroon. You're watching Viewpoint on DBS television. On Viewpoint, we talk on health, we talk on politics, we talk on economy, and of course, we talk about the society. Everything that is of interest, we bring it to you through the points of views of our guests every day. And tonight, we are having Kum Jerome Mwankang. He is a teacher, and Mange Venashus, your regular guest on the show. Good evening to you, Mr. Jerome, and thank you very much for being there tonight.
Good evening, Vanessa. Thank you very much. It's always a privilege to be on your program.
Mange Venashus, you're welcome.
Good evening, Vanessa, and good evening to our viewers.
All right, in a second, we will be coming back for the first part of the show. That is the yes or no question. We dive into the subject matter with question number 1. Is there any impact in the abuse of power by state agents in Cameroon? I begin with you, Mr. Kum. Yes or no?
Yes.
Mange Venashus?
Yes, Vanessa, there is an impact.
Question number 2. Is the increase in prices of goods of basic necessity a sign of negligence by the authorities? Mange Venashus?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And Mr. Kum?
Yes, as well.
Yes, as well. Question number 3. Is there any impact of family succession of public service in Cameroon's democracy? I begin with you, Mr. Kum. Yes or no?
Yes, Vanessa.
Mange Venashus, what do you say about that?
It does, Vanessa. There is an impact.
And our last question for today: are Cameroonians convinced of the presence of the coronavirus in our society? Mr. Kum?
Yes.
Yes, Mange Venashus?
No, Vanessa, they are not.
No, they are not. All right, this is their point of view. Let us come back for the debate. Welcome back once more. In our first question, we asked whether there is any impact in the abuse of power by state agents in Cameroon. And Mr. Kum, you said yes, there is abuse of power. Looking at the recent case that is happening in Douala, what justifies your point?
Yes, Vanessa, it is categorical and absolute that there is abuse of power by state agents and authorities in Cameroon, and it has a lot of impact, to be precise, negative impact on those who are to be benefiting from the services of these authorities. The impact goes as far as what? Harassing, bullying, intimidating, causing depression on the beneficiaries of the services of these authorities who are put in place to save the people. If I should take the case of the forces of law and order, or the judiciary as a whole, this sector in our country is notorious as far as abuse of power is concerned. Some of them have taken the public offices to be their private properties. They do what they want at any time and at anywhere. That is why you will commonly see a military officer says he is doing what pleases him. And some people even call themselves, they are the states. Yes, l'État c'est nous. That's a common language that we hear. In this regard, if it continues that way, it will lead to what we call moral degradation and stressing of what? Work relationship. Because some of them go as far as deteriorating or over-exercise of their authority in their workplaces. And in many cases, it has led to what we call sexual harassment in offices. It has led to what? Unlawful commission of acts, injustice on the part of the less privileged. So, the authorities are supposed to be called to order. Their consciences should be appealed. Even if I say their consciences should be appealed, before these people take power, a majority of them swear using the Bible or the Quran. But I don't understand the case with our own country, especially the judiciary, who have taken public offices in Cameroon as their private and individual entities that they manage the way they want, rendering account to nobody. So it has a great impact. But to who? To the common man. You don't have a say. That is why somebody will say you can't win a case in Cameroon if you don't have money. Because there is no more rule of what? The law. Justice does not prevail. Because the person in power, as he is there, he is not there to serve the purpose for which he is placed. That's to render justice, equality, and democracy. He works for his interests. So it has a great impact, and the people who pay this price are the common people, the masses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Komjeron, for your point of view. Mange Venashu, he has touched a particular sector in Cameroon that has to do with the judiciary, but in your own point, you still support the fact that there is an impact in the abuse of power by state agents.
Impact by state agent, impact of abuse of power by state agent in Cameroon, Vanessa, is not something that any other person can doubt. If we talk of bribery and corruption in Cameroon, we know that that is just another characteristic that defines us as Cameroonians, perhaps that identifies us as a nation in Africa, if not in the world. Bribery and corruption. And this bribery and corruption stems from the fact that state agent, that's the over exercise the limit of their offices. What I mean here is each state agent, like in any other sector, every employee has what we call the roadmap. You have a definition of your function. You have what you are supposed to do within your function. But it is commonplace in Cameroon to see that we decide to give the kind of interpretation to the laws that binds the functionality of our society. You know, when we hear of people talking of Cameroon as a state of law, I say it is a state of law for those who don't have somebody to defend them. Once you have somebody up there, I think those laws, they are, they don't apply to you. Once you are in a certain position, these laws do not apply to you. We have seen Cameroonians where, take the example of this COVID-19, where they say every other person entering Cameroon was supposed to be, isolated for 2 weeks. We have state agents who were supposed to be, examples to Cameroon, to Cameroonians. They decided to say, no, I am not doing it. Did theirs, carried out what they wanted to carry, and after some time, they disappeared in the background. We don't know, disappearing in that background was to be in confinement or not to be in the public eye. That is finally what the public had was these Cameroonians, they did not they did not follow what was expected from Cameroonians. We take another example, what was happening here at the Douala City Council. We had the former government delegate who was the last government delegate who was there, Dr. Fritz Tone. He suspended 10 staff representatives from their duty for more than 3 years. Suspending them, suspending their salaries, suspending their allowance, just for the simple reason that these delegates, they ask for certain, privileges that were supposed to be theirs, like sick leave, sick benefit, employment. All those benefits that had to be theirs, that were supposed to be theirs by law. But the government delegate decided that, no, it was as if they were pushing him so much, and he suspended them. The Minister of Labour and Social Security insisted that they should be reinstated into their function. And the government delegate refused, categorically refused. These guys went on strike, hunger strike, in front of the council building for more than 1 week. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. And one tends to ask the question, are we still in a state of law? Is it that anybody decides what he wants in this country and carries it out, and nobody dares raise a finger to ask what is happening? Until the last government delegate, when he was put out of office by the new change in this decentralization process in Cameroon, the next city mayor who is there, barely 2 months, it's not up to 2 months that he took over, Yesterday, he reintegrated this 10 state person, this staff delegates. He reintegrated them into that function. And the question I was asking is, was the law applicable for him, city mayor, and not applicable for the government delegate? Mm-hmm. Is it that the government delegate was above the law and nobody in Cameroon could ask him? The minister who is supposed to regulate labor in Cameroon, he asked him through the regional delegate of labor for the littoral. We had copies of the document that were sent. He asked him to reintegrate these workers, and the government delegate refused, and nothing happened. So how do you expect other Cameroonians to respect it? The impact we have in Cameroon, like Mr. Kum was saying, is it kills the morals of Cameroonians. It tells Cameroonians that once you have somebody who can support you, the law means nothing to you. Once you are placed in a certain position of authority, the law means nothing to you. And when we do like that, and then we come back to say that Cameroon is a state of law, it is only a state of law for a simple you and I who have nobody to defend you. Once there is somebody up there who can defend you, that law can be kept in the cupboard. And we do whatever we do, and later on, we talk about law in Cameroon. That's what we have in Cameroon, Vanessa.
All right. Thank you for your viewpoint, Mange Venashus. Our second question for today, we are asking, is the increase in prices of goods of basic necessity a sign of negligence by the authorities? And Mr. Kum, you said yes. We are talking about the increase in prices in relation to this health crisis, the coronavirus that has come in, and the prices of goods. You know, when the pandemic just came in, rumors were spreading that if you buy this, if you consume this, it will help you prevent you from contracting the disease. But then the prices have remained the same, and the authority seems to do nothing.
Yes, Vanessa, it is a negligence from the part of the state authorities, a very big one. You see, when this pandemic broke out, many other nations took measures earlier. But our own authorities, they are very good at enacting law, formulating regulations. Faut pas augmenter les prix. Don't increase the prices. You sit in your office in Yaoundé, stay there and say a bag of rice should not be more than 11,000. On Monday, I bought a bag of rice for 13,000. A cube of sugar should not be more than this. They don't care about the population. Some of these things they say is just cover up. Because I can't imagine that decentralization, which is highly spoken of by some so-called authorities, is not practical. A minister of commerce, small and medium-sized enterprises, says in an attempt to fight the COVID-19, which is a hidden enemy, a very powerful one for that matter, prices should be regulated. But in order to go to the field, supervise, investigate, implement this law, it is a nightmare in Cameroon, because these people have been used to their bureaucratic malpractices and manipulations. I heard it, they said prices should not be increased, but it is the contrary. When you go to the field, you see something different, just like other regulations that have been put in place, but they never follow up. All I can say is that in Cameroon, starting from the highest authority, they formulate laws, they envisage project, they say it, but none is follow up. They allowed it for what? Survivor of the fittest. Do it the way you want. I'm a teacher of the private sector. The minister said in early March, proprietors should continue to pay their teachers. They should not stop. But as I am telling you of now, some schools, a majority, I can say 90%, they have given a deaf ears, whereas the same proprietors have collected all their school fees in December before the outbreak of the crisis. These unscrupulous people, they go free despite a decree of the minister in question. Then, one can simply conclude that the people just speak in order to please themselves, pretend, to be with the people, whereas they care less about the people. How do you expect, Vanessa, a teacher to feed from March? We are in May. Some people said, okay, I will pay you people in August. A teacher has no other thing to do in order to earn a living. But the minister said, pay these people. So it is really deplorable. The prices of basic commodities, sugar, salt, rice, they are on an increase, skyrocketing very high. If you go to the market, Marché Central, you will notice it there. So we are calling on the authorities not to only sit in their offices, or better still, to push this decentralization they have been talking about. Maybe they don't understand the meaning of decentralization, but this is not where I have to educate them. Those people who are there at the subdivisional level, divisional levels, they should be given the power to implement some of these rules.
All right, Mange Venashu, sir, you are actually supporting Mr. Combs' point tonight.
Yes, Vanessa, you know, when you talk of negligence of the state, it stems from the question we were talking of, where we make laws, and what is lacking is a follow-up of the implementation of these laws. Like Mr. Kum was saying, when this coronavirus crisis broke out, the Minister of Commerce went down to the field and published a certain number, telling Cameroonians that if you buy any a good that the prices have changed, call this number. You go to the market and tell the woman that, but the minister said that we should not change the prices now, and the woman will simply tell you, okay, if we achete alo shele minister, go and buy from the minister. Now you decide whether you will leave, you will starve, and walk to Yaoundé to buy, if at all the minister even do sell rice or sugar or salt or whatever. But the problem here is, the minister really told us that there is his ministry would send a team into the field. What is the staff strength of that ministry to send a team into all the markets in Cameroon? Let's just take a city like Douala, just Douala. How many markets in Douala would receive the inspection team from the Ministry of Commerce to find out whether prices are regulated? Even if that team comes on ground, Vanessa, there is another issue that is, you know, I said corruption, bribery and corruption is becoming one of the characteristics that identifies us in Africa as a people, as a country. When this team comes to the field and they say, what is the cost of this? You simply say it's 1,300. What was supposed to be for 800? We say, okay, no, you know, you're not supposed to. They take you inside and discuss with you, and then you go out laughing, while the masses continue buying at the same price. Once you go into the house, khaki envelopes, changes hands, and then you go out, you have carried out your mission, and you go back to the office that you have carried out your mission. There are many ways that we can carry out price control in Cameroon. It is not as if they do not know. They know it. But then other factors like corruption, they come in. Other factors like lack of staffing, they come in. Other factors like lack of will, simple will, comes in. The number that the minister gives, that if there is anything, call. When you call the number, it doesn't even go through. How available, how accessible is that number? You expect somebody in my native village in Jakiri to call, and then you expect somebody to leave Bamenda from the ministry, from the delegation, and drives up to Jakiri, or leaves Kumbu and drives up to Jakiri, because not all subdivisional headquarters have the delegations from the Ministry of Trade. Okay, tell them they will link the gendarmerie, they will link the police. What effective do we, what staffing strength do we have in this post? So it is just simply sheer negligence, sheer lack of will to respect them. In some countries, once they say like that, it is done. Vanessa, I was listening to a country to news in Nigeria, where one governor decided to demolish a hotel. He demolished a hotel because the hotel owner disrespected lockdown rules to fight COVID-19 or COVID-19, and opened his hotel. The hotel was functional, receiving people. The governor demolished it automatically. In Cameroon, we would not have that, because if the governor even goes there to meet, if he has to negotiate with him very well, it dies down. We need to set the records right in Cameroon to know that the masses are more than an individual. The minister may sit in Yaoundé. The minister may come out with very lofty roles. Just that if they are respected, Cameroon will become a heaven for everybody to live in. But because of negligence, we are living what we are living today when just eating becomes a problem in Cameroon. In Cameroon, that people work. Cameroon, that we have food. God blessed us with food in abundance. But people are dying of hunger because some people have decided to make life difficult for others. Not because they cannot control them, but because they have neglected it, and the masses go about suffering, Vanessa.
All right, all this just to simply say that it's as a result of the negligence of our government authorities. Manga Venashosa remain with you in our third question for tonight. We are asking whether there is any impact of family succession of public service in Cameroon's democracy. Talking about this, we are looking at the recent appointment of the mayor of Fumba and Patricia Damjoya after taking over her husband. We are talking of Mapche Nikki Love after taking over her father concerning these municipalities.
Yes,
and
Vanessa,
you think that it has an impact in our democracy?
We have cases of, the son taking over from the father, the wife taking over from the husband. You've cited the case
taking over from the father.
You have cited the case in non-division where the mayor for Fumban subdivision is Madame Tumainondam, who took over from the husband, Adamondam Joya. In the same non-division, the same Madame Tumainondam took over from late Adamondam Joya as the president of the CDU party. Now, you've cited the case in Pete Banjun, where Mathieu Neki Love Forzo she was elected, yes, to replace the late Victor Forzo. Victor Forzo was the mayor, yes. So and the daughter was the second. He was the first assistant mayor. So he was elected to take over from the father. We have the same thing in Douala too, where the mayor of Douala too, the father was the mayor in Douala too.
Denise Fampo.
Yes. So she's taking over. She's continuing with the same reign, the Fampos. It is not only these three cases that we are citing. They are abound in Cameroon. What happens in Cameroon is, once you are there, you make sure that your son or your daughter keeps following, and the wife keeps following.
Thereby impacting the democracy of Cameroon.
It has a great impact in the democracy of Cameroon. Because if Cameroon is a democratic country, I think that we should talk about election. And election is, democracy is power to the people, for the people, and by the people. When I followed up the news that came from Banjun, about the election of Mathieu Neki Love.
Pete Banjun.
Yes, they said she was elected on 40. That is, 40 councillors voted him. All the 40 councillors voted her. And the question I was asking was she the lone candidate? Or other contenders who were there, they did not vote, or they voted her? The question we are trying to find out here is, when we talk of voting, some papers actually talk of that it was the CPDM that strategized the putting in place of that Maptue Forzo into that position. But the problem now we ask is that democratic? Democracy should be, let the people choose who should rule them. When it becomes family succession, what is different? What is that? How different is that from, I take a situation like a monarchy, like in the Great Britain? We know that the royal family, if you are not from the royal family, you cannot become the queen or the king. Yes, and so when we talk of democracy, it means if I am if I'm the leader today, tomorrow they can decide to choose you. It has nothing to do with succession. But what we have in Cameroon is we are gradually instituting a monarchical kind of government, cutting across. Yes, it's not only a government, cutting across, even in political parties. We already have it. And remember that this question of succession was the immediate cause of the downfall of the late Zimbabwean president, Robert Mugabe. Because the wife wanted to succeed him. He was already an old man, and the wife scheming to see that if this man should die, the next president would likely be the vice president. And he schemed in such a way that her husband should dismiss the vice president, and then if she dies, then she will take over. Remember that was what led to the unfortunate, we call it untimely, downfall of Mugabe, because the people understood, and then she was brought out. We want to indicate here that the idea of succession is not only in Cameroon, but then it has an impact on democracy. We are no longer a democratic country, because once in a democratic country, it means we can elect, and that is why in democratic countries we talk of the formal president or the former mayor, and there are around 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Yeah, because it was just from here. But we have a lineage of mayors. We have a lineage of presidents of party. It's not democracy.
It's not democracy. Mr. Kumjerum, you support the fact that it has an impact in the democracy of Cameroon?
It has an impact, and it just exposes the weakness of what we call democracy in Cameroon. Because you can imagine that your dad is the mayor. After your dad, you succeed as the mayor. I don't think that family is a monopoly of knowledge or charisma to deliver the goods of that particular municipality. This is just a reflection of what is happening as a whole in the country. Because she has become the mayor after the father. Okay, maybe at the executive level, we should be expecting something like that. Because it stems from there. That as I go, I prepare either my son or my daughter to take over me. This is very ridiculous. And it makes us, Cameroonians, to be fools of ourselves. Because the people, they make their wills, their rules, they put their people in place, and then they deceive us that we are in a democracy. It is really, really too bad.
Okay. All right, maybe 1 minute for this last question. Are Cameroonians convinced of the presence of the coronavirus in our society? Many are afraid to go to the hospital, and at the same time, they refuse to accept the fact that their relatives are contaminated.
Yes, Cameroonians, a majority, are not really convinced. Now, coronavirus is a reality. It exists. It is there. But since the average Cameroonian has little or no knowledge of this particular pandemic, he or she is bound to follow what has been put. I was like crying when the Prime Minister, I saw the Prime Minister reading, bars of licenses are to be open. Tell me how you are going to drink beer or whatever in an off license in a nightclub with a face mask. It is not possible. So what I'm telling to every Cameroonian, whether you were convinced or not, know as from now that coronavirus exists and that you carry your destiny in your hand, not the government, not anybody. Do it a duty in order to preserve yourself. We don't have 2 lives.
All right, Manga Venatius, 1 minute on that.
Yes, Vanessa, I think that Cameroonians, they are still doubting. That is why they find it difficult to accept when they say you are a patient or your loved one, your member of your family died of coronavirus. We have cases here in Douala, in Cameroon, where they are still resisting that, no, the person did not die of coronavirus. We have had a situation where family members attacked medical personnel, fighting with them. We have had cases, it was in the news, that a family went and exhumed a corpse because they say he did not die of coronavirus. So I think Cameroonians still need a lot of education to accept the fact that coronavirus exists and it is killing Cameroonians. That is why when we keep talking of wearing face masks, washing hands, using hand sanitizers, it is still a problem to us because we are still, to believe that it does exist. And that is why to be confined, Cameroonians find it completely difficult because they don't accept that it does exist, Vanessa.
All right. Thank you very much, Marga Venatius, and to you, Mr. Kumjerum, for coming in tonight's program. Ladies and gentlemen, that was said. We've come to the end of today's edition. Until we meet again, do take care and do not forget to respect the various barriers measures in order to counteract the coronavirus disease in Cameroon. Until we meet, bye-bye.